You know, you spend your entire life in the pursuit of a goal. You know, you you start off going to elementary school and you never know. I mean, your biggest concern is whether or not somebody has a crush on you. You know, you're not really worried about grades. I mean, some people are, but you're worried about that. That when you go to recess, if you're gonna get asked out on, they say a date, but I'm from the era where you ask somebody out. You're worried about how cool you look. I mean, as a guy, you're always back then, yes, boys, you want to be cool, and then not only cool to you know girls, but you want to your fellow guys, you want to be cool, right? And then you hit middle school, and towards the end of middle school, at least in the States, you're kind of more you're starting to really think about eighth grade. Okay, I need to really start figuring out what I want to do. At least for me, it was right. And then high school, you start thinking, okay, well, what do I want to do after high school when I'm an adult? How am I going to be a productive member of society? I went in the military when I got out of high school. Went to the Air Force for 7 years. It's a lot of fun. Met a lot of cool people. Saw a lot of cool things. There were some dark moments, but I mean, it's the military, right? It's not meant to be all sunshine, roses, and all that stuff. And then, I got out. While I was in, I met the love of my life, which I'm eternally thankful for. Super glad that she was willing to put up with me for all these years. And and then at that point it was like, well, what do I want to do as a career? Because I didn't want to do what I did in the military, which was loading planes, which is kind of boring. But in hindsight, now that I'm nearing 40 and life has kicked me in the nuts a few times, it's kind of the simplicity of doing something like that is kind of, I want to say it's almost alluring. I don't know if that makes sense. It's almost kind of a draw, It's like, hey, this is something that's super easy to do. Let's do it. But I chose to do computer networking, or IT, because I was interested in it. I still am. And so you start working towards this goal. So you're like, okay, so I had the GI Bill. I was lucky. I went to college, right? I just focused on college for 3 years. 2 years? Yeah, 2 years. Just under 2 years, actually. I focused on school. Got my degree around, I think it was 2017. I got my degree, which is pretty cool. And didn't get paid a lot at the start, obviously, because you're entry level. I did help desk, which if any IT person out there knows is kind of rite of passage for the IT field, where you got to do help desk work. But I worked my way up. The first year I did help desk and technician, and then I was put in charge of an entire campus, they call them villages on Guam, but basically townships. I was put in charge of an entire campus that was scattered across a small area. And then I was there for 3 years, and then I got a big boost working at a hotel got paid double what I got paid before. And as time went on, I kind of just notched my way up. Left Guam for a little bit. Got 2 jobs in the States. 3 jobs. Well, 2 jobs, 2 companies. And then I came back home to Guam this year. Well, last year now, 2025. And I came back and found a good job here. Paid really well. And I was there for 8 months before I got forced out of that position due to bad people. People who plotted against me because they didn't like me. And, I'm sure they would probably say, oh, well, you blah, blah, blah. It's not neither here nor there. They plotted to get rid of me from the beginning for one reason or another. So where does that leave me now? Well, it's kind of got me spinning out a little bit. Some days are better than others. It's happened a week ago now. So last week, this last 7 days, this happened on the 1st of the year too, like at 10 a.m. So I wasn't even 12 hours into the year and I got let go from my position. Luckily I do have some stuff that's on reserve. I have some money in reserve for about half a year. So I could stay afloat for that long at least. But it's kind of got me thinking, you work, you spend all of this time, all this is to say that you spend all of this time throughout your entire life working towards a goal of some kind. It really starts in high school, about halfway through high school, where you start really kind of thinking about the future. Despite your hormones are raging, and other things taking up a lot of your time. Kind of back to that same elementary school thing, trying to be cool and trying to get the girl to like you. But in elementary school, you didn't know why. In high school, you find out why you want the girl to like you. And then something like this happens, where a couple of bad people collude to get rid of you because they don't like you. And you kind of start wondering, what the fuck's the point? You kind of start thinking, hey, I spent all this time getting to this point, but now it just got stripped away from me with barely a word. And these people, they do this and then they hide. They'll find a way to get rid of you, and then they'll stab you in the back, and then they'll run away and hide when the consequences happen to the person that they did it to. Because they haven't said a word to me since they they looked at me square in the face on the 31st and said, have a good new year, the day before I was let go. Like less than 24 hours after that, I was let go. So with that in mind, like, how can you go into a new job after that and say, hey, and not be able to trust your superior or your boss, because that's one of the people who got rid of me, who didn't like me. So how can you go into that next job and say, yeah, okay, I trust you as my superior? How can you go into any job from that point and say, hey, I'm going to have X amount of dollars per year guaranteed? And I'm starting to understand why people are saying, have two or more sources of income. And I never really understood that at the beginning. I kind of did, but it was more for like, oh, well, that way you get more money. Not to have a separate revenue stream in case you lose your fucking job. So I'm just kind of sitting here thinking to myself, like, you spend all of this effort, time, energy, money, going to college. I mean, I didn't spend a lot of money going to college. Like I said, I had the benefit of the GI Bill, which I'm thankful for, but I did have to buy books. I did have to, pay for gas to get to college. I did have to do all that stuff. And I blood, sweat, and tears in various jobs and whatever. And getting all that experience to get to a point where a couple bad actors just knock it all down. And, between at-will employment and my word against theirs, you could conceivably lose a lot because of that. It's just kind of got me wondering, what's the point of climbing the ladder when, the top parts of the ladder is sabotaged, and as soon as you step on a rung, you're going to fall all the way down. Maybe you'll catch the rungs on the way down. You won't fall all the way down, but how can you ever trust that ladder to not fuck you again? How can you ever trust that you're not going to hit another rung that's sabotaged? I don't know. I still love computer networking. Networking is still awesome to me. Working on computers is still fun. To me, IT is all about learning the profession and mastering the profession and solving a puzzle and sitting here and saying, okay, the computer is doing XYZ or the network's doing XYZ. And there's nothing more satisfying than to go, I know what that is, and going and fixing it. There's nothing more satisfying than that. But when you have people who intentionally sabotage you because they may not like you for one reason or another, and I'm not saying it was due to race, it wasn't, but it was definitely due to the fact that there was no rapport between people. And I found out, like, secondhand down the road after I was laid off, well, let go. I'm calling it laid off because that's what my contractor is calling it. That they were working against me. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, at what point do you like, I'm never going to trust a superior again. I'm never going to trust any of my fellow employees again. I might in time. I'm not saying that it won't ever happen again, but I definitely won't trust an employer ever again. And thank God I had some money put back. I mean, it was for saving to work on my Jeep, which I was actually going to start doing videos on YouTube. Me working on the Jeep, but I may have to sell the Jeep now. It's a TJ, 1998 TJ. Because, need money. Need money to stay afloat. And yeah, it's only been a week, and I'm sure there's some people out there in the comments who might say, oh, well, bro, it's only been a week. Give it time. You're in a profession that, people need you and stuff, and it's important to stay positive. And it's, it is definitely important to stay positive, and especially in this day and age where there's so much negativity swirling around you and on the internet. And kind of been going down rabbit holes the past week, watching videos while I'm studying for CCNA, to retake my CCNA, sorry. And I haven't been eating as much because money. But, like, it just kind of well, it really makes me just kind of reconsider everything. Like, you spend all this time and effort doing it, and it's just all for naught sometimes. work for myself if I had the patience, but I don't. I'd start my own business if I had the patience, but I don't. I'd like to do streaming as a full-time thing, but I'm not that entertaining. Unless I'm drunk, which I don't want to be drunk all the time. The next day sucks, especially when you get older. So, I don't know. I just wanted to vent. Throw this up on YouTube for the fun. I guess for the fun, or for the rant, for the need to be heard. Just came to my mind all of a sudden when I was just sitting here looking at OBS, deciding if I wanted to stream on Twitch or go to the gym, or I might go to the gym since I have access to military base gym since I'm a disabled vet. Might go and get some exercise going, and it helped yesterday, so maybe it'll help again today. I don't know. I hope it doesn't stop helping, because it's the one avenue for getting my frustrations out that I have, other than streaming, playing games. Playing games can help me forget. It isn't really a stress relief. It just kind of compartmentalizes it separately, you know. But I don't know. Anyway. If you want to follow me on Twitch, it's the same name as here. I'm a variety streamer. I don't do, I guess I'm not very entertaining, so I do like talking to people. I do like meeting new people and getting varied outlooks on life. And maybe I'll do these vlogs more often. Maybe I'll just sit down and make commentary on stuff. Moist critical style, you know, or Ludwig style, or any of the other YouTube commentators that are around. Or maybe not. Maybe this will be a one-off. I have one video on here that I recorded with me, and it was me ranting about USAA about a year ago. Actually, over a year ago now. Damn. Anyway. That's all I got. If I don't see you, then have a good life. Enjoy yourselves. Try to stay positive. That's rich coming from me right now, but I'm trying.